Hello, friends. We have been discussing the questions relating to the ethics paper, uh, which were asked in the previous years. So, as part of that, we have been discussing the questions asked in 2021. And yet another question today we shall discuss uh, that was asked in MAINS 2021 is relating to uh, the innovativeness and creativity. Besides domain knowledge, a public official needs innovativeness and creativity of a high order as well while resolving ethical dilemmas. Discussed with suitable examples. This was a question asked in 2021 relating to ethical dilemmas. And the question says that to resolve the ethical dilemmas, one requires a civil servant or a public servant requires innovativeness and creativity. So let us try to answer this question. See, if you look at this question, the question asks you to discuss. So when it comes to discussing, we'll have to give various views with examples. And the question is about that. The question says that to resolve the ethical dilemma, it is not only the domain knowledge which is required, but also innovativeness and creativity. So why do we need that? So basically, in case of any dilemma for that matter, creativity and innovativeness is very much essential to resolve the dilemmas because when we talk about creativity and when we talk about creativity or innovativeness, it's nothing but um, out of box thinking. And this is all the more important for any public servant because the public servant is going to deal with the day-to-day problems of the society. The administrative problems are a little complex, and given the complexity of the society with the increased population and the advancement of the science and technological developments, as well as the issues relating to environment and ecological issues, so it's very clear that the out of the box thinking is very much required. So, to resolve not only ethical dilemmas but also to resolve any dilemma for that matter, any see what do you mean by dilemma? We'll come to it little later. We require creativity that is out of the box thinking. Now, coming to what is dilemma? See, a dilemma is the conflict between two or three different aspects or two or three issues that are involved in a given situation. And when it comes to ethical dilemma, this is a dilemma between the ethical values. For example, if you have a conflict of interest, ethical conflict of interest is one of the aspects of ethical dilemmas. When one has two different interests, that is one personal interest and the public interest, the common interest what he represents, and if there was a conflict between the two, that can result in an ethical dilemma. So what do we mean by ethical dilemma? First of all, let us try to understand. See, an ethical dilemma is the conflict between various alternatives where no matter what a person does, some ethical principle may be compromised. And this is where the problem actually crops up with respect to resolving the ethical dilemmas. See, an ethical dilemma would be the conflict between alternatives where no matter what a person does, whatever you do, see, if you do it, you're damned, and if you did not do it, you're damned. This is a condition in which you'll be finding these ethical dilemmas, right? And there are few examples like for the ethical dilemma, there are few examples. It's like I can show I can I probably you would have come across the trolley example or the fat man in the cave example. For instance, assume a few people have been found locked themselves into the cave, and the for some reason it is heavily raining and the cave is filling with water, and unfortunately, to enter or exit the cave there is only one entrance, and in that entrance, in that entrance, one fat man has trying to escape has got stuck. Now if you have to save the other people who are stuck in the cave, you will have to somehow remove the fat man. Whether it is costing his life or whether he'll be severely injured, that is immaterial. Or you should choose to let him, so whatever happens, let it happen, right? Whatever happens, let it happen. So this kind of a situation would be called as an ethical dilemma, or this is called as a fat man in the cave example. Or sometimes a very common question that is asked with respect to the ethical dilemma is the trolley example. For instance, there are two railway tracks, in the one track where the train will never come, there are one child is playing or one old man is working, whereas in the regular track where the train comes, there are about 5 or 6 people. They are playing around or sitting and chatting around there. Now you are the man who controls the track. In order to save, you cannot stop the train, but you can do one thing: you can change the track. In order to save the 5 people who are young, would you change the track of the train to the track where it normally doesn't go, where one old man is sitting or old man is walking? Can you give, can you choose to sacrifice the life of the old man to save the life of young people who are larger in number? So this is a kind of an example of the ethical dilemma. This kind of situations you may come across as a public servant. For instance, there was a case study asked in the previous years. The case study was, you are an officer in charge of implementing a government scheme which is meant for old aged women who are destitute. There comes a woman to you who is old enough, and in all other respects, she is eligible to be included in the scheme, but she does not have any papers to prove that, to prove her eligibility. Now, it is your question. Supposing if you did not include her in the scheme you are not implementing it. If you include her, she doesn't have any proof, which will be in future raised as an audit objection. So in this case, what will you do? So this is an ethical dilemma, right? So in this case, how do you resolve this ethical dilemma is a question. And now I hope you understand the example and understand the question basically. So in order to resolve these ethical dilemmas in such situations, one definitely requires innovativeness or out of the box thinking. Because see here, in the both in all the three examples what I gave you, in the fat man in the cave or the trolley example, again you will have to go in for, you can choose to see, you have certain options. Number one, you can choose to abide by the rules. By abiding by the rules, are you going to achieve the objectives for which the for which you have been appointed or you have been entrusted with that position? No, you will not, right? And number two, can you take an utilitarian approach, like maximum good for maximum number, instead of, in order to save 10 people or 5 people, sacrifice one? Will it that be correct? That is a conflict, right? Can you go by the Benthamism? Is a conflict. Number three, you take this example of the old lady, the case study what was asked in the previous year question paper. Here again, if you are not including the lady and helping her out, you're gone. What is the purpose of the welfare? Number two, here again, another important thing is that you know very well that she is eligible otherwise. You are the one who is looking into that. But would you fear the audit objections and abide by the rule, and you will exclude her? In that case, aren't you failing to perform the role, what you are assigned with, what you are actually called to play? If you include, then there is a problem of audit objections. What will you do? So the similar question was asked a couple of years back as well. Another example, right? Another example, another question was also asked in the case study. All right, it was relating to like issuing another certificate. So what will you do? So here, practically speaking, number one, you have to achieve the objective. For instance, if you take the case study example, the scheme has to be implemented and it should reach the needy people. You should ensure that. Number two, you should comply with the rule, and if you are going to break the rule, then you are setting a wrong precedence or wrong example, right? Number three, you should not fear. You should apply your mind in order to see, rules can always be amended. The rules are for the people. There is a project, there is a policy, there is a scheme. The policy and schemes will have certain rules in order to ensure the, in order to provide a framework and ensure that the policy or the scheme is implemented in its letter and spirit. So here you have to act upon that, as well as you have to ensure that there is a compliance of the rules, and in case the rules are not compliable, then you must make certain recommendations for the amendment of the rule. So to in order to find this, or in order to arrive at this conclusion and help out, and also to implement the policies effectively, you definitely require out of the box thinking, where creativity and innovativeness becomes central, right? Therefore you can quote these examples and write the answer, build your answer like this. So we shall discuss more questions in the subsequent videos, and wish you very all the best, and thank you very much for watching this. Thank you.